Darkness, Chapter 1. I buried my head, walking down with a purpose on a cold December night. The rain looked black as it streaked the street and pooled on the grass. The fellow pedestrians were soundless as they huddled around entrances to now closed bars. I looked at my watch. It read 3:15 a.m. I knew I had already missed the last train going back home. I put a cigarette in my mouth and inhaled deeply as the blue flame lit the end. Before I could even enjoy my first breath, I felt a soft touch on my arm. "Do you have an extra cigarette?" The girl asked us as she hid under a small umbrella. "Yeah, hold on." She took the cigarette I offered and lit it herself, exhaling with the relief only a smoker could recognize. I caught a glimpse of her under the umbrella. She had a black see-through mesh top on with a black bra underneath. She had medium-sized breasts that fit perfectly into the bra. I could see traces of a tattoo on her left arm that I couldn't make out clearly. "What are you looking at?" She said this eyeballing me with her large dark eyes with heavy makeup around them. I pulled on the hood of my raincoat and responded, "I'm not looking at anything." "You can't just look at someone like that and not say anything." "Well, what's your name?" "Jennifer." "Well, Jennifer, where are your friends? Where are yours?" She lowered her eyes, clearly insulted. I paused for a moment and considered her. It had been a long night for me, but I was interested. "This might be a bit forward, but I know a Chinese place up the street still open. Would you like to get something to eat with me?" I asked this expecting her to say no. Chapter 2. We walked down the wet street together, and I could see she was much more beautiful than I expected. She had pale white skin and large chestnut-colored lips. Her long black hair wrapped around her face and stuck to her neck under the wet rain. She had put on a long coat she was carrying and swung her arms to an imaginary song. She took another cigarette, which she lit, smiling to herself with pleasure. "You live around here?" I asked. "No. Do you?" She said this uninterested, still swinging her arms and the light rain continuing to pelt her umbrella. No, I do not." Chapter 3. The rain intensified, and we could watch the rain splatter against a restaurant window from the inside now. It was surprisingly busy at this hour. Sitting at the table next to us was a short man and a long beard with a tall blonde girl that was all legs. The young man was clearly saying all the right things as she was hunched forward with a magnetic smile. "Do you have a girlfriend, Michael?" Jennifer asked this with her hands resting on a black purse. "No. We broke up this morning." "Fuck you." "No, you didn't." She said this sincerely, not believing, but keeping the shocked look fixed on me. "No, really." I threw my phone over, showing the message from 8:30 a.m. Message from Tanya, 8:27 a.m. "Mike, I'm really sorry. He's my true love. I had to. Fuck you." She said this again, more violently. She could tell her reaction was disorienting me, then finally added something more. "My boyfriend also broke up with me this morning. Fucking dick." I raised my eyebrows and looked at the table beside me again. The blonde girl's legs were sprouting from under the black miniskirt like a precious flower. She fingered her wedding ring, still beaming. I gazed back at Jennifer across the table, who was eyeballing me hard before she asked, "This is gonna sound weird, but come to the restroom with me?" Chapter 4. She spread the white powder and formed lines on the edge of the sink. She snorted 2 of the 5 lines with a tubular device. She stared at me with pupils that looked like 2 large moons. "Well, you going to?" She asked us with impatience and frustration. "Oh no, I'm good. I didn't know we were doing this." "Right, of course you didn't." She snorted another 2 lines and pulled her mesh top off with her back facing me. She turned around and pinned me against the wall, shoving her tongue deep into my mouth. She pulled back, looking deep into my eyes without expression. She took my hand and guided it down inside the front of her pants. The hairless flesh was warm, ready. It felt like I put my hand into an open mouth. It did not take much to pleasure her. She arched her back and closed her eyes. "Can I ask you a bold question?" She said this as her undone bra fell to the ground. Fuck me right here. Not very bold, I thought, but I could not resist my attraction to her. Chapter 5. As with all situations like this, I noticed my surroundings with more care after we were finished. The stale light bulb flickered with the smell of mothballs and strawberry body spray which overpowered the rest of my sensations. Fuck you. She said this to me, using it as an expression to say this impulsive behavior of hers was all my fault. Somehow I knew all this. What she didn't know is that I really liked her, and I had no intention of abandoning or forgetting her. She was applying the chestnut lipstick when I began to urinate deeply. Are you for real? She started, but was interrupted when we heard the first loud pop. Chapter 6. I had been to an outdoor gun range before, but the sound of a gun going off in the small restaurant was both deafening and unmistakable. Our door burst open, the metal door crashing dented on the sink. Not locked? I asked this and flung my arms to the side. Jennifer looked at me, lowering her eyes. It was the guy with the beard and the leggy girl. He was clutching his stomach, and she quickly followed behind him, locking the door behind her. I remained silent, not knowing what else to say or do. 3 gunshots were fired off and produced 3 matching dent marks on the thick door frame. We heard people shouting to open up the doors, at least 2 guys and a girl. The blonde girl was sobbing, crumpled on the ground, pressing toilet paper into the man's red and black wound. I could see her blue panties with her legs open, but quickly turned my attention to the door again as 5 more shots rang, further denting the door. The blonde girl, still sobbing, kept repeating his name, Mark, as he closed his eyes and died. Chapter 7. The noise outside the door quieted. I ran my hand along the cracked tile below me. It's all my fault, the blonde girl said in a toneless voice. She had her head down, her legs spread wide, not caring that her green panties were visible. She wiped the makeup that had run all over her face. She continued in the same lifeless tone. We were at McKinney's. I was dancing. She closed her eyes. I watched her neck bob as she swallowed hard. A guy put his hand down the back of my skirt and under my panties. She stopped her story and stared at the ground, fixated on the dirty tiles. I had to fight. I had to fight. I had to fight. She just kept repeating this before we heard the lock on the door click. Chapter 8. The heavy metal door opened slowly but with purpose. A chill ran down my body. The stuffy room now felt cold. The blonde girl eyed me. Jennifer, not offering her eyes to anyone, focused on an overflowing garbage bin in the corner. I was not panicked, but my heart was frozen, feeling as if it was at the edge of a waterfall. I wasn't afforded to feel this way for long, as a short girl walked in with pace and without hesitation towards the blonde girl. She was speaking Spanish into white wireless headphones plugged into both ears. The blonde girl sobbed and pleaded under deaf ears, as the Spanish girl didn't break her conversation. She grabbed a fistful of the blonde's hair with one hand and slammed a Glock 22 into the side of her head while discharging the gun with ease. So much of the blonde's blood sprayed on Jen that it ran in 2 thick streams along her blank face. Both the streams of blood connected at her chin, producing steady drops. The Spanish conversation continued while the blonde's collapsed head rested to Jen's right. Arms splayed forward like she was swimming and in the middle of a butterfly stroke. Jen's focus did not change, her eyes still fixed on the garbage bin now with tiny droplets of blood spray. Chapter 9. I'll get a vodka soda and a Klingon bloodshot. No problem, the bartender, Katie, said to me, smiling the whole time. The bar was totally dead, as it was 3 a.m., last call. I heard the bartender muffle something, but I was fixed on a picture of a man holding a rope with one hand and a girl in the other arm. I asked you a question, you know. The bartender asked us playfully. Sorry, my mind, it's all over the place. Are these both for you? Yeah, just me. You want a Klingon blood too? I'm pouring 2 shots of whiskey for us. Katie smiled to herself, making the drinks with her black hair pinned back. She returned with the 2 shots placed neatly on a pale cutting board. Based on the deep color of the whiskey, I knew it wasn't cheap. These shots smell expensive, I commented, digging my tongue into the inside of my cheek. Oh, don't even. You're gonna be cheap on your birthday, Mike? Where's Tanya, by the way? She broke up with me this morning. Guess she didn't want to buy me a present. Well, I'd ask you on a date, but you already told me you don't date bartenders. She stated this fact with her lips pressed together, staring into the sky. I thought about marrying her and running off to California in a used car. She would stretch her arm across my lap, and we'd hold hands as we head west, crossing the sun-kissed cornfields in Iowa, the razor-sharp-tipped mountains of Colorado, the huge dark skies of Utah painted with endless stars in the night. Wow, you're really spaced out, aren't you? How old are you again? I regained my focus and downed the shot of whiskey. It was a smooth, nutty flavor, easily over $20 a piece. I just turned 20. When are you going to find Mr. Right? Katie's face turned red around the cheeks. That, coupled with her natural dimples, was the kind of beauty quality men would lose their head over. I don't know, but I'm happy. Don't worry about me. You want to come get something to eat? Oh no. I'm going home. Bubble bath, some music. Oh fuck, wait. Are you picturing me in the bathtub now? Even when she was awkward, she was charming. I thought about what it must be like to have the kind of personality that attracts so many people like her. Chapter 10. Jennifer and I walked hand in hand east towards my apartment. The sky was now a dark navy blue color as the sun was just beginning to rise. I felt the cold air nip at the bottom of my ear as I pulled down the winter hat given to me. It made the ear feel warm and safe. I looked over at Jen, her clothes under her jacket stained and soaked right through with the leggy blonde's blood. Are you sure you don't want to stay at the Best Western under police surveillance? The old gentle officer had asked. Instead, she soundlessly followed me into the blackness of the night. She put her hand into my jacket pocket and exhaled with delight when I covered her hand with mine. Look, I know you kids just went through a lot, but one of you has got to say something. The police officer pleaded with me as he took a careful sip from his travel mug. I stopped, turned around, and faced the officer. She just shot her. 1 shot. No hesitation. I said this now looking at Jen. She had a black blanket draped over her shoulders, and a black towel resting on her head covering her eyes. What did he want to hear? What did he want to know? How small pieces of the girl's red bone and flesh stuck to Jen's hair? How the dark-haired girl held a hunting knife up to Jen's eye, asking if the couple were friends of ours? How she gently ran the knife along the curves of Jen's slim body before whispering something in her ear? How she bit Jen's lip with pleasure before plunging the knife into the top of her shoulder? It was then we heard shots being fired outside the restroom with the yelling and violence that followed. With neither of us saying a word, we continued to navigate the labyrinth of the dark, cold city towards my apartment. Chapter 11. A small cat started walking opposite of us on the sidewalk across the road. We stopped. The cat stopped, stared at us, and turned his head sideways. She crossed the street walking slowly, but with purpose and confidence. She was black with a small tuft of white fur below her neck. The small cat ran her head and the rest of her body along my dirty pants. For a moment, I forgot about seeing the girl with the black hair's head, slumped on the ground, eyes open, with a large gun wound in the center of her chest. The healthy tan body that chirped endless Spanish now sleeps. Jen bent down and scooped the cat easily into her sure arms, holding the tiny animal close. She took the cat's collar in her hand. 22 Oakmount Road. Well, we better get you home. It would be the only thing she said for the next 2 weeks. That is how I met Jen. The end.